is Sarah Winkler, and I will be discussing my oral presentation with you on minimum wage. So, minimum wage is defined as the lowest amount employers can pay their employees. And under the Fair Labor Standards Act, signed by Franklin D. Roosevelt, the federal minimum wage started at 25 cents an hour. And what it currently is at now is $7.25 an hour, which is from the U.S. Department of Labor. And in my opinion, the federal government in all states should raise the minimum wage to $12.50 by 2025 to improve the lives of the wage-earning class and businesses involved that would be affected by such an increase. In other words, to be able to actually earn and support a family, they would need to do this by 2025 in order to do that. So, but there are, okay, yeah. I'm trying to move to the next slide. So living on minimum wage, the current $7.25 an hour is just simply not enough to live on and support a family with many bills and expenses like food and groceries, insurances, housing and utilities, and maybe even child support depending on the situation or the individual. And a living wage should be something that an individual earns and can support themselves or their family with. And there are those that are individuals ages maybe 65 and older that are retirement age and have saved up money along the years, and they're living on minimum wage, and it's just enough for them to get by and get what they need. But on the other hand, there are minimum wage earners who are much younger, who do not even simply earn enough to get what they need, or let alone get by. And most of these younger workers they don't rely on a parent's or guardian's income, so they have to work for themselves and provide for what they need. Yeah. Next slide. So the effects on the poverty line of a low minimum wage is that there are millions of Americans who go to work tirelessly in each day and night, and then they don't even they don't earn enough, and then they still fall below the poverty line. So from Stern and Camden of the New York Times, they say that an individual with a full-time job at the minimum wage and a family of 3 to support will fall below the poverty line, which is true. They also state that the concern of an individual's dignity being undermined when they cannot provide for themselves or their family. I could imagine, like, what would other people think if I couldn't afford just to buy what my kid would want to get at the grocery store, you know? there's also the instance that it is many individuals' dream or desire to go to college and receive a secondary education. With the minimum wage where it is, it's a struggle for many individuals to earn and even afford to go to college and receive a secondary education for their chosen career field and what they want to do to be successful in life and to support their family. So, something that comes up with minimum wage is called monopsony. And monopsony is described as a very similar concept to that of monopoly. And eventually it leads to underemployment and underpay for many employees that earn minimum wage. And monopsony arises when a firm captures the ability to dictate price to its suppliers because the suppliers have no real choice other than to deal with that buyer, which comes from Lynn. And monopsony is a failed market type in the labor market. It is not beneficial to the economy, and it could potentially lead to even worse levels of poverty for wage earners and workers. If the minimum wage continues to be $7.25 an hour, the country and many individuals will potentially continue to be below the poverty line. So the opposing side of not raising minimum wage is that there are many in favor that raising minimum wage would be a negative effect on the economy and would potentially decrease employment and work hours for many businesses and corporations. So Connor Russo of the Valley Vanguard states that the minimum wage was never really meant to be a living wage. He says that a living wage is what people earn once they progressed in their jobs and have earn and learn skills and leadership and can support themselves independently or growing family as an American. And so an increase in minimum wage could have a potentially negative impact on the economy by businesses having to pay their employees more money, and would mean that many companies would have to downsize, which means less jobs, and so when a company's employees are getting paid a higher wage, businesses would consequently have to hire fewer employees and decrease the earnings of their current employees, which would be really bad, which I mostly agree with that. So the negative impacts of an increase in minimum wage would be that businesses would have to be paying more money, which I just said, and they could result in companies having to downsize, which would mean less hours for the employees and less production of products, which would mean less revenue for the businesses and companies that would be increasing the minimum wage. So the positive effects of an increase in minimum wage would be that when minimum wage earners earn more money, they would potentially spend more money, such as like in a Walmart employee, they earn more money so that they would in turn go and shop at the clothes section in Walmart instead of just the groceries. They would be buying more stuff that is not the basic essentials. And so Jonathan Harline and Austin Martin give the instance that if someone is spending what they earn on the necessities, and they have more money beyond their money than the necessities, then they can in turn buy more stuff that they would want rather than only what they need, such as going to the theater or ordering takeout more often or buying more exuberant clothing. And so that they would give to these smaller businesses and companies that wouldn't necessarily get any revenue from them. So a global view is that 29 United States have already moved to a higher wage. And in comparison, um, the United States has a low minimum wage. It's according to the World Population Review, the United States has a 12th highest federal minimum wage in the world, and the highest being in Luxembourg, Europe at $13.78 an hour. In other countries, it is in other countries, an individual is paid is dependent on their age. And so, in other words, that means that someone, say, age 40 would earn more per hour than a 25-year-old in ECC, which in some businesses and corporations, that's how it is in the United States. So in the United States, if they were to raise the federal minimum wage to $12.50 an hour, it could put the US at a more equal position compared to other countries in terms of the economy and employee salaries that individuals working and earning under the federal minimum wage. So some key points and ideas is that an increase in minimum wage would have both a potential and negative and positive effect on the economy, and that it would is just simply not enough to make a living off of and support an individual or their family of $7.25 an hour. The minimum wage should be increased to benefit the millions of Americans who work tirelessly day and night but still fall below the poverty line. And compared to other countries, the United States has a low minimum wage. And there's my works cited and